Hey Tribe, today I want to talk about back to school. Back to school comes with a flurry of changes, and with change inherently is stress. As we start to make all these changes moving into that new school year for our kiddos. So I wanted to address what those stresses were, a little bit about what we can do to mitigate those stresses and keep our body tuned up, which is obviously chiropractic. And give you just a little bit more information so that you understand what it is that your kids are going through, because they go through a lot. Parents go through a lot too. As we kind of prepare, ramp up, we got to get supplies, we got to go get schedules and get kids checked in, registered, all that fun stuff to get your kid ready. But what is your child going through? And that's the part a lot of my parents tend to not think about. They're busy doing all of their stuff. We forget how stressful it is for those kids to make that transition from summertime, fun, freedom, no rules, to strict, regimented, structured school. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those stressors. So the first thing that comes to mind when we come to back to school for me is immune. So we've spent a majority of our summer not being around a ton of kids. You might go to a party or a barbecue here and there, but you're not sitting in a classroom full of 30 kids in a lunchroom full of 150 kids every single day in these jam-packed hallways. So their exposure is going to be exponential. And what happens that first month of school? Everybody gets sick. Everybody gets a sniffle. Everybody gets a cough. Everybody goes through something that's going around the school. So what we see in these kids is through stress everywhere else, their immune system becomes suppressed. And then they go in and triple, double, quadruple, 10x their exposure to all sorts of other biomes that are around them. Those are the little people and whatever they're carrying, because we're all got all the stuff on us all the time. I talk more about that in Growing Healthy Kids in our workshop, so you can check that out. So immune function gets suppressed through stress because the nervous system gets suppressed through stress. When it gets stressed, it goes into fight or flight. That's a sympathetic response, a speed up of the nervous system, which is good because it puts us in a position to fight off all of that stuff. However, when we stay stuck, then it suppresses the immune system. We're unable to adapt. And then when we get all that extra exposure, boom, we're going to get the sniffles. So that's one stress. The second stress I'm going to talk about here is routine. Now, if your kid's like my kid, he's been playing video games and going to the pool and doing all the fun stuff at the zoo and wherever else. And he's been staying up a little later than his normal bedtime, and he gets to sleep in a little later. Because he doesn't have anywhere to go, he's still getting his sleep. Everybody's having a good time. When we get to school, things are a little more structured. And as you know, these kids, 0 to 5 need at least 12 hours. That 5 to 9 range, they're going to need, probably, I would say 9 to 11 hours, depending on what research you read. And then, those older kids, when we start getting into the tweens and teens, are going to need, a little bit less, at 8 to 9 hours. So this routine change is really tough on them because instead of going to bed at, let's say, 8:30, 9:30, 10, and waking up at 8:30, 9:30, 10 in the morning, now all of a sudden we got to be up and be somewhere at 7:30 in the morning. We got to start setting that standard or parameter, whatever you call it, early on to start to ramp them into that new routine. And if you can do that, we'll mitigate some of that stress on that baby. Because if we don't do anything about it and then you just wake up on Monday morning and ready to go to school at 7:30, that kid's gonna be a mess. And if they have any sensory stuff, any kind of adaptive behavioral issues, that kid is going to struggle mightily. So start changing that routine, get them pushed back to that normal bedtime so they're getting adequate sleep. So You know, my kid's 7 right now when I'm making this video. And, you know, we put him to bed. We start around 8 where we're reading books and getting settled in. By 8:30, he's pretty much asleep. And, you know, he wakes up around 7:30. That's 11 hours, 10 hours of solid sleep. We have to work into that because he's been staying up late. And so we've started that process. So change your routine, but do it gently for them and for you, because it's a big shock when you start to have to wake up an extra hour and get more stuff done early in the morning. All right. Third thing, social. Over the summer, they might have been at the ball games, they might have been playing soccer, they might have been doing these activities, but they haven't, again, been around the entire group of their peers. And people change over the summer. Opinions change, appearances change, there's growth spurts, everything changes. Sometimes when we're talking about the older kids, hormones change. And so their opinions and views and everything like that continue to develop even though we haven't seen each other for 3 months. Now we're going to jump back into a classroom with all of these kids, and now we got new teachers, we got possibly new principals, new schools, whatever. Everything's new for them in that social context. So now we have to reestablish connections with those older friends. We have to make connections with the new friends because those friends may not be in your class anymore. They may not be at the same lunch. All of those things are gonna be a struggle for that child for the first couple of weeks as they start to navigate the social aspects of school. Be aware of that and be patient and let them know it's okay. Work with them and just be on their side, in their corner, and available when they need you. And it's not if, it's when. Sports. Some of you play competitive sports and things like that, so your kids have been active in doing those things. A majority, especially in the younger kids, they took a break over the summer, but now fall ball's starting. Okay, whether it's soccer or tennis or football or volleyball or any of those sports, they're all getting ready to start along with the school year. Sometimes they start a couple weeks before, whatever, depending on the level that you're playing. So now we got sports that we haven't played in 3 months. Now we're opening a host of other stress that's physical in nature. So we're gonna start adding stress. You know, if you got a high school kid that's playing football, they're doing, you know, 2-a-days and all these extra workouts and all these things. They're stressing their bodies, getting them prepared for their coming season. And that leaves us open to have some of those new, you know, stresses, injuries, things like that. And so we're a little more susceptible to injury in that first month or so as we kind of build back into that conditioning and strength and agility that those kids are going to start to develop. Movement, or lack thereof, sitting. So that changes big too. So if your kid's been going to walk the dog and go to the zoo and go to the pool and go wherever they're going to go all day long every day, they're having a good time, and then on the weekends you take them to the park or the lake or the river or wherever you're going to go and you're having a good time. They're on the go and moving all the time, and now we're going to take these kids and we're going to shove them in a classroom for 7 hours and make them sit. That doesn't go very well. And the teachers know it, the principals know it, everybody knows it. And it's chaos for those first couple of weeks because you're like, hey, I need you, who's normally active, to sit still. And whether I agree with that or not is immaterial. It's a new stress on their bodies. And it's a big transition for them to go from this high activity to a low activity. Much like when you get out of college and then you take your job and you go sit down and you never get up for 30 years. The last stress I'm going to talk about today is academics. And so over the summer, you know, there's that natural loss where we didn't read, we didn't do math, we didn't do the science. And so you forget a little bit of that stuff because we're not constantly using it. So use it or lose it principle. And when these kids get back in school, boom, it's like jumping on a treadmill that's already running, because they're like, whoa, their brain says, catch up, gotta find all these answers, gotta find all this stuff. I've forgotten it, where did I put it? And that's everything that's going through those kids' mind, especially the first month of school. So all of these things become very, very, very stressful for your children as they enter into that next school. Now, these are normal stresses that need to happen, and this is how we navigate life. And it's your job as parents to educate or support your kids through those stresses and teach them how to navigate those. My job as a chiropractor is to teach you parents how to navigate that for your children by giving them the best opportunity to have the best outcome. And the way to do that is through chiropractic care and neurologically-focused chiropractic care. So when we look at the nervous system, which controls everything, and we give an adjustment and we make changes that are great and positive and moving forward to that neurological system, we're giving them their best chance to fight off all that stress, to adapt at a higher level than they could potentially be at when they stay unadjusted. So that's going to finish this up today. Your kids are under a lot of stress. Stay with them, be aware, help them navigate, get them adjusted, and they're going to do just great. There'll be more to come. We'll see you soon. If I can stop that. There we go.